Hi everyone, we're back. 20 minutes stronger, day 6, and it's a big one. So I've got a list of exercises. I'm not quite sure they're all going to fit in 20 minutes, so I may edit it down a little bit as we are progressing. And as I've always said throughout, I'm really keen to keep this to a 20-minute time span because I want to be able to fit it into busy days. So I've got a selection of weights and we are doing shoulders, chest, and back work. So I've got heavier weights. I've got 5 kilos and 4. I haven't gone too heavy. And I've got, if you can have a look down, the tiny little itty bitty baby ones. In fact, for the exercise that we want to use the tiny little itty bitty baby weights, you may not even need them at all. I like using them, but you may not need any weights at all because it's challenging enough without the weights. So we are going to start with something called the reverse fly. So I'm going to opt for 4 kilo weights. And again, use whatever you have got to hand, particularly if you're completely new to using any form of resistance. It's more about getting the movement pattern right and getting into the habit. And then we can build in working with weights and progressing to heavier load. So I'll just kick my mat out of the way. So this is slightly in my way. We're going to come into almost like a half squat position. So you're going to bend your knees and you're going to stick your bottom out a little bit and you're going to bring the arms. So you've got this kind of soft bend in the elbows. You're not here, but you're not hanging them down fully either. And from here, we're going to open the arms out to the side and then bring them back in. Open out and bring them back in. So your shoulder blades will feel like they're slightly coming together on your back. And we're going to do 8. So we've got 3 more. 2, 1, and then we'll have a little rest. And just so we keep the rest an active one, just making sure I've got an eye on the time to finish in 20 minutes, I am going to do a little walk on the spot. So I'm just going to hold the weights in my hands, and I'm going to lift both heels, but then take one down and have about 15 seconds little walk on the spot before we kick into our next set of reverse flies. Good. So back to taking the feet slightly wider. I'll demonstrate it forwards now, so I can look at you all. You're going to come into your squat, half squat, and your arms will just move slightly away from that wall. Kind of soft bend in the elbows, weights out in front of you, open and come back in. 6 more. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And come to standing. So again, little active break with a little walk on the spot for this one. So again, lift the feet, one heel comes down, and then you're alternating. And I'm not sure if you can hear that, but my ankles were crackling a little bit there. And about 5 more seconds of that walk on the spot. And we're going to bring both heels down, take a slightly wider step, and back into that semi-squat position, softly bent elbows, strong through your shoulders, and lift. 6 more. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Good. So I'm going to keep the same weight and we're going to come onto hands and knees. And I would typically do this with a bench, but again, wanting to show you that you can do things without the extra equipment. If you don't have time or you don't have the money to get yourself a gym membership, then you can do things without all the equipment. And one of the nice ways of doing a row is going to be on hands and knees. The bonus being on hands and knees is that you also get to work on core stability. So if I just tuck my t-shirt in, so it's not flapping around, and we can talk about what we're trying to get through our spines. We want in a hands and knees position to have a neutral looking spine, which means you've got your little bit of bottom sticking up, but you're not hanging here. You're strong through your shoulders, if I mix my words up, And you're watching your head position as well. So often I see this in class, people just forget about their head, they drop down. You want to keep that head and neck aligned with the rest of your spine. And then I'm grabbing that same weight, just the one in my right hand, and I'm going to row it in towards my underarm and then release back down. Row it in and release back down. And I'm going to do 10. So I've got 7 more, and all the while I'm keeping really still in my pelvis and spine. 4 more. 3, 2, 1. So the drawback of doing these without a bench is that your arm isn't fully extending, you're not doing that full movement. But there is still a benefit, so it is worth, doing the exercise, even if it's not getting that kind of full range of movement through the entire arm and then lifting all the way back up. So 10 now on the opposite side. And remember, just keep to a nice regular breath. You find that breathing pattern that works best for you. We'll do 4 more. 3, 2, 1. And then just sit back, have a little roll of those shoulders back. Particularly if you have a desk-based job where you're forced to be slightly more sedentary, whether you want to or not sometimes. Even with a standing desk, it can be hard. And you do tend to roll yourself forward. So a little rolling of those shoulders back goes a long way. And we're going to go back onto hands and knees. So again, remember that lovely spinal position, a little bit of bottom sticking out. You pick up that weight in your right hand, 10 times rowing it in and releasing. 6 more. And one last one, and we take it over to the opposite side. So same thing on the left, soften that elbow, that supporting elbow, so you're not locking it out in the front of that, the kind of inside of your elbow isn't pushing forward. If you can, help it. And you're going to bring that hand in towards your armpit again. 8 more here. 4 more. 3, 2, 1. Good. And give your wrists a little circle. Give them a little break. We've got 1 more to do to each side. So back onto hands and knees. Remember, trying to keep this in 20 minutes. So 9 more here. 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And then over to the opposite side. And again, staying stable through that spine, being mindful of your head position. And we've got 7 more. Four, 3, 2, 1. Excellent. So let's pop that weight to the side. And as we're close to the mat, we're going to come into a chest press. So again, we don't have a bench, or I'm not using it so that I can show you it can be done at home. I'm going to have 1 cushion behind my head to just make sure my head and neck are in good alignment. And I'm going to use my 5 kilo weights for this one. We're going to keep it simple. So holding those weights, you can hold them out to the side roughly. I'm just going to make that a little bit more balanced. Roughly shoulder height, but I want your upper arms slightly off the floor. So you're not like relaxing the upper arms onto the floor. Your elbows are off the floor. Your knees are bent, so you're in a more supported position for your spine. Press up with the arms and then come back. Press up and then return the arms back. 8 more. 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, and last one. Pop the weights down, and whilst we're here, precarious, that one. Pop the weights down properly. We'll just give our, we'll take our right leg. So bring your right leg into a knee fold. And whilst you're having a little rest, I want you to reach that right leg to the ceiling and flex and point that ankle. So we're going to give it a little bit of love. Just one more. And then bend that knee. We'll do the same on the left. Left leg comes to pointing at the ceiling and flex and point. While we're having a break, little stretch and a little bit of ankle mobility. Great. Let's pick up our weights again, back into our chest press. So arms out to the sides, fists pointing at the ceiling, elbows hovering off that mat and press up. We're doing 10. So we've got 8 more. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and then take those weights down nice and safely. Bring one leg up into a knee fold and let's do a few ankle circles. So we're just going to work on whatever leg you picked up. 3 more circles in this direction and then we're going to reverse. So 6 circles going to the opposite side. And we're not going to do the left leg yet. We'll do that after our last set for our chest press. So get those weights, roll yourself back onto the mat, hovering the upper arms and elbows off the mat. Press up with the arms and lower back down. Five more. 4, 3, 2, 1, and relax the arms down, relax the weights down. Let's balance out our legs, knee fold with the opposite leg and 6 ankle circles in one direction. And then you're going to reverse, 6 going to the opposite side. And I'll just check how we're doing time-wise. We've got about 8 more minutes. So we're going to come to our sides and come up to standing just to have a little change of scene. And I'm picking up my 5 kilo weight. So these are the slightly heavier ones. And I'm going to bring myself into a bit of a more athletic stance. So slightly shoulder distance apart with my legs, knees soft, maybe a little bent. And I'm going to take both arms out to the side. So for this, we're going to do an overhead press. And for this, if you've not done this before, start light weights. Yeah, really light. Just get used to the movement. What we want to avoid is leaning into our lower back. So we're taking that kind of active stance, hands just at our shoulders, and punch up and come back down. Up and back down. 6 more. 5, 4, 3, so we're doing 8 reps for this one. 2, 1, and relax back down. Take your feet back to hip width. And again, as we're having a little rest, we'll just do a few heel raises. So just lifting both heels off the mat at the same time. Both heels off the mat. 4 more. 3, 2, 1. Good. So let's take that slightly wider stance with the knees softly bent, coming into that don't shoot me position. I've also heard it as called the cactus, which I quite liked. You're going to press up and come back down, up and bring those arms back down. 6 more. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and relax the arms down. Good. Feet still, well, bring them back to hip distance. And again, 8 little heel raises here. Getting those calf pumps working, calf muscles activated. A nice active rest between sets. 2 more. And last set of the overhead reach. So back to your cactus, slight bend in those knees, just really soft bend and punch. 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And that's certainly warmed me up. So pop the weights down. I'm just going to have a quick sip of water. And we are going to come back to lying on our backs. You choose the weight that you want. We are going to do flies, but we're going to do them lying down. So you're going to reach both arms up to the ceiling, soft bend in the elbows. I always describe it as almost like you're holding a giant beach ball in your arms. And then you're going to open the arms out to the sides, keep that soft bend in the elbows, and hug back in. And we'll do this 10 times. Open the arms, hug back in. 8 more. 5 more. 4, 3, 2, 1. And have a little rest. No active rest here, just a little breather. Take a few breaths. Have a little think about how your body is feeling. And we'll go again. So picking up the weights, reaching to the ceiling, weights are coming together and your elbows are softly pointed and you're going to open and close. Seven more. I'm just thinking, oh, it's the mat. I was like, is my right shoulder doing a little crunchy sound, but it's actually the mat underneath me. It's not my shoulder. Good. 3 more. 2, 1. And relax the arms down. Little breather here. And just, I've really enjoyed this. Like we're on the 6th day. I've really enjoyed kind of fitting the 20 minutes somewhere in the day where I have a little break, a little time. I've pegged it onto my lunch today to get some movement done. And I always feel quite proud afterwards that I've managed to commit to that 20 minutes for myself. Lift the arms back up, last one, and you're opening and then coming in for a big hug. Opening and coming in for that big hug. 8 more. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And relax. Great. So we are going to do away. We've got like 3 minutes left. We're going to do away with the heavy weights. We're going to work a little bit on our lower back and our back muscles. So we're going to take, if you've got little teeny itty bitty weights, baby ones, you can use them. If not, you don't have to use any at all. Definitely not heavier than 1 kilo. In fact, today I'm using 0.5. So I mean it when I say small. So I don't need the cushion, so I'll move that out of my way. And you need to have space to the front of you because your arms are going to be lengthening away. So don't worry if you can't see my feet really, they don't really matter for this. I'm just getting my legs out behind me, roughly hip distance and relaxed. My hands are holding the weights by the side of my head in that don't shoot me position, but in prone, so lying on your tummy. Take your tailbone down, have a lift of that rib cage, flatten it against the mat. And we're going to start with a diamond press. You slide the nose forward. This is a Pilates exercise. Stop at the tip of your nose. You're going to lift the face, lift the chest, like you've come into a reverse curl up. Now, you're going to hold your reverse curl up. You're not coming back down. You're going to lift both arms, reach them forward and come back. Reach them forward and then bring your elbows back in towards your torso. 6 more. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And then relax and bring your face down. So have a little breather. So the other exercises we did are very demanding because we used heavier, well, I've used heavier weights. So you can definitely feel like, oh my goodness, my muscles are having to work and I'm having to control my body and get the movement to be executed correctly. And you've got all of that here as well. But in fact, in some ways it's more challenging because for the vast majority of us, our spinal muscles, our muscles in our lower back are quite weak. So holding that extended position with your arms lifted and then reaching the arms forward could be quite challenging. So if you found that really challenging, don't use weights. If it's still really challenging, you're going to come into your diamond press and hold. And instead of reaching the arms forward, you're just going to lift them and lower them. So you're going to start with baby steps. But if you were fine, lift and reach. And reach. 6 more. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And relax. Have a little breather. We're going to do one last one. Probably one of the best exercises I teach because so many of us have weaker lower backs. So important to kind of strengthen that because it will help improve your overall core strength and support your abdominal muscles, your glutes, your whole core basically. So we really want to get that as strong as we can. So again, coming back to being face down. And we're doing that last one, so that reverse curl up or diamond press. And you do what you need to do with your arms, either lift and lower or lift and reach. 7 more. Keep that height in your curl up. And we're starting to fatigue now, so you're going to want to drop. 4, 3, 2, 1. And relax back down. And you can come back and sit briefly back into rest position just to stretch out that lower back. And when you're in rest position, really tuck the tailbone between the legs and take a big breath in. Full exhalation. And just come carefully back up to standing. And you are all done. Have we done it? Yes, 20 minutes with me, a little bit of blabbing. Have a good one.